Greetings and felicitations again, my fellow perceptive purple people. Today, let's chat a little about transgender students, notification to parents by schools, and what such seems appropriate or not. I apologize for this one running a little long, but all of the shaking my heads require a bit of unraveling to get to the kernel of truth of the matter. We'll start with the controversy, cut through the hype to get to the actual issue, consider the facts, then present the obvious and logical solution for this. Here we go. Well, the right and left-wing politicians and media have managed to find yet another social issue to unnecessarily polarize about. Yes, of course, we have a suggested solution for this, with logical reasoning behind such, of course, but we'll get to that. Let's get to the heart of the matter first. Here you go in a straight shot. The issue is about students who decide to request that they be publicly referred to in schools by a different gender than what's on the school paperwork, and whether parental notification is in order for such cases. What's most important to note here is that this is about those who do want to come out to their schoolmates publicly with their gender choices, not those who have not made such a decision. This single observation simplifies things and gives us a path to a balanced policy suggestion. First, and unsurprisingly, is the usual pointing out that both sets of the media and political harpies are hyperbolizing the actual issue for their own purposes to the detriment of the public. There are actually precious few cases of these type of circumstances. Enough to form some local policy, certainly, but not enough to warrant the national attention it's getting. The reality is that this does not appear to be a single massively widespread issue requiring national scrutiny by pompous, polarizing personalities, but multiple local acute issues that are best handled locally by those closest to the situation and community. So here's the media war positions this time. The right-wing media is going nuts about, well, everything, but this time they do have a couple of valid points to be considered, namely the roles that a child's parents and the schools have in this subject matter. They are correct to point out that schools are not a substitute for parents, and that, barring special individual circumstances, parents should be kept notified on issues surrounding their children to be addressed at home. More on that in a moment. The left-wing media is hand-wringing about the few children discovering their gender difference at an early age and facing possible parental abuse regarding such, most likely due to homophobia or some such. Therefore, a child who comes out to the school requesting to be publicly identified as another gender should be protected from, well, the parents, apparently. This conclusion is based on the perception that parents will react poorly to their child's coming out and the blanket assumption that they would have no clue about their own child's identification. Although I am not immediately aware of any specific incidents of this, I can reasonably presume such an issue may occur on rare occasions. So some consideration of this concern is appropriate, though very much overblown here. Also, although the left-wing media is correct that there have been a lot of homophobic violence historically and, indeed, has been recently on the rise for the transgender and non-conforming gender portions of our communities, even as the same type of crimes for gay men are down. So I can certainly understand the sensitivity to the subject. But applying this is a logical error of conflation, as these statistics do not generally include the type of concern the left-wing media types are referring to here, namely young LGBTQ students' potential risks at home with their parents. So, what's the conclusion? Well, although the left-wing media has hyperventilated about all of what I've already stated, they're merely exaggerating the apparent prevalence of this kind of issue. We'll leave that there for now. This is where the right have some traction. I would remind you all that many kids go through a time of sexual identification and exploration and experimentation as they mature, and that this is altogether normal, with the vast majority of people confirming their preference as standard issue during this time, and only a few that discover a truly new direction in their sexuality. Parents have a reasonable concern of undue influence during this delicate time of growth by those with political intentions that could cause potentially irreparable and irreversible harm to their children. Along these lines, allow me to take this moment to interject a quick reminder about the role of schools. Schools are created to work with parents to educate their pupils as a team. The hiding of information is in opposition to that primary mission. So, unless there are special individual circumstances that would prudently require such withholding, the school would be working against their own mission to not tell the parents about the things that might impact the education of their child. So, considering all the controversy and the actual logic of the issue, we can come up with a reasonable position that nobody will like, but is nevertheless the correct position rationally. The obvious key is the act of the student requesting a public nomenclature change, not private counseling or other confidential requests in this area. Therefore, if a student has chosen to come out to the school and request that they be referred to publicly as some other gender, then the parents should indeed be informed. The key here is that the individual student has already made the determination to come out publicly. Therefore, the student clearly doesn't have a lot of concerns about it getting back to their family, as it would, irrespective of the school's information anyways. Any parent that is reasonably in touch with their child is also likely to already know by the time that said child has chosen to come out publicly about the issue. As such, having the school inform the parents, in these cases where the student has chosen to come out publicly, is most likely to be pro forma anyways, and unworthy of further consideration by any parties outside of the immediate situation. I would point out that as a parent with, at the very least, LGBTQ-friendly offspring, I have always been aware of their preferences, whether I agreed with their conclusions about such or not. It would be a pretty oblivious parent to not have at least an inkling of their child's special issues with gender before school does. Although I am sure there are some cases of parental disapproval, there are ways to handle this discreetly between the schools and the parents where needed. Conversely, and this is critical, if a student has not chosen to come out publicly and instead is confiding in a counselor or other trusted school staff in private, then notification would not be appropriate, as there is a more reasonable concern that there might be a good reason why the child is not coming out publicly, and not all of those reasons might be about parents' reaction, I might add. So there you have it in a nutshell. If the student comes out publicly for the school to change their recognized gender, then the parents are informable. If the student is confiding in private, it remains confidential. What do you think about this? Do you find this position reasonable, or do you have a more logical and reasonable idea? I'll see you in the comment section below. Till our next chat, remember to keep your balance and stay purple, people. And let's get America together again. We'll see you again real soon.